Hello, everyone. I'm Gemma Star, and welcome to another episode of Heart Warriors. Heart Warriors is a series I've been guided and inspired to do thanks to my energetic connection to Kata Judah. Kata Judah being our beautiful, sacred, masculine site in Central Australia, very close to Uluru, our sacred feminine site. So what I'm here to do is to give a platform to men so they can share their journey into the heart, their highs, their lows, tools, practices, insights, wisdom. What have they done on their path into the heart that they can now share with other men walking that path today? And of course, us women who are walking right there beside them. Today is number 88 of 100 episodes that I'm going to do. So we're getting there. Today's guest is Jesse Hal. Now, Jesse has been a lifelong truth seeker, and he created the show The Missing Link to educate anyone who is willing to listen. And he's done over 400 interviews in 2 years. So really excited to get Jesse's perspective with what's happening out there with men and masculinity, and also about hearing about his journey into the heart. Enjoy. Hello, Jesse Hal. How are you today?
I'm awesome. It's great to see you, Gemma. Thanks for inviting me here on your show.
Oh, you're very welcome. What part of the world are you in? I know because I always get it wrong.
I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, which is just above Montana in the US. We've got the Rocky Mountains to the left of us to the west, and then the ocean is about a 10-hour drive from where I live.
Oh, beautiful. Sounds good. Yeah, I apologize. Jesse interviewed me on one of his shows, and I know I kept saying he was American, so I apologize for that in advance if I get it wrong again, but I know now. Jesse, let's find out a bit about you. When you drop all your labels of podcast host and, whatever else you give yourself, who's the man inside? How would you describe yourself inside?
Wow, great question. How would I describe? I've got my heart is bigger than my brain. I think sometimes I've tended to get myself into situations over the years because, I all heart lead by my heart. And sometimes, when you don't think of things thoroughly, you can end up, having a little bit more challenges than things should be. And, I basically I've lived a wild and kind of crazy life. I was out of my house at an early age, and I really experienced life to the fullest. Kind of got adopted by the streets until I decided I didn't want to be walking around looking over my shoulder all the time. And then I went on the journey of self-discovery and finding out who I am. And unfortunately, for about 20 years, that included, lots of drugs and alcohol. And the once I stopped that 9 years ago, I stopped drinking alcohol. 8.5 years ago, I stopped all synthetic drugs, and 8 years ago, I stopped cigarettes, and 6 years ago, I stopped eating meat. Some of those bigger decisions that I've made in my life, which has really kind of molded me more into who I really am and what I'm really supposed to be doing here without all these distractions and all these energies pulling me in all these different directions because of the way substance abuse works.
Yeah, fascinating. Oh, that gives us a good overview. So let's break that down a bit. The first thing I want to pick up on is when you said, you led by your heart, and that often, sort of got you into a bit of trouble and maybe should have thought about things first. As you stand today, what's that balance in a man between the mind and the heart?
Well, the mind is obviously, sometimes, especially with men, people think that they're thinking with the wrong brain or, not thinking at all. And I just tend to, like I love immensely. And, I consider myself, quite different than most men that I've ever met. I'm able to express my emotions. I'm able to talk about certain things. I don't, have ego at my forefront and having to put this male tough, image on. When I was, younger, that was all about the tough image and making sure that I was very well respected. And, people would open doors for me and things. Male and females would be opening doors for me when I was walking in places. And, that, was a time in my life where I wasn't balanced. And, for these last, 10 years, I've really been figuring out how to live a balanced life where I can, give my heart. And, sometimes it gets taken advantage of, but I wouldn't change things because, I really help a lot of people and I enjoy being able to help people. And unfortunately, sometimes, that comes with people trying to take advantage, but, they help a lot more people than, I get taken advantage of. And especially now that I stopped drinking alcohol, I get taken advantage of much less, if very rare at all now.
Yeah. Oh, great insights. Thanks, Jesse. So let's go back to your childhood. You did touch on it when in your little introduction there, but what would you say was the most challenging aspect of your childhood that you had to overcome?
Probably two things. One is I did get bullied as a kid. So my parents are from Czechoslovakia. They went to Vienna to go get married, and during that time, the Russians invaded the country of Czechoslovakia. So they had a choice to go back to the country that just been invaded or to be granted amnesty in either Canada or Australia. They chose Canada. I'm such a warm weather guy. I wish they would have chose Australia, but they chose Canada, but they knew zero English. So when I was born, all I spoke was Czechoslovakian at home growing up. And I'm technically English second language. I didn't learn English until I was about 5 years old when I started, playing with the kids in the neighborhood and then going to kindergarten. So I was technically always behind everybody. I always thought maybe because I didn't speak like them, why I kind of got, bullied. But I was never one of those boys that said "ooh yuck girls." It was 5, 6 years old. I was picking flowers for girls, and I had a crush on my kindergarten teacher. Had a crush on my teacher in my French teacher in grade 3, 4 or 5. It was my French teacher and stuff. But I did get, picked on quite a bit. I guess not so much from the time I was 5 to maybe 10, but after 10, it just seemed like I was different and, people like to pick on me. So that was quite a challenge having to, fend off bullies, having to fight people, it was a little bit challenging there. And then as well as, my dad never wanted kids. So when my mom was pregnant with me, well, when my mom was pregnant with my sister, he said, after she had her, she said, he said, no more kids. And then, so my mom was scared to tell him that she was pregnant with me. So she didn't tell him till about 6 months that she was pregnant, so until she was like showing so much that, she kind of had to. And he was very involved in his ham radios and he'd work, eat, and then go on his radios. And, I never seen them like kiss unless it was like a thank you kiss for a Christmas present or a birthday. That was the only time I ever saw any affection between them. So I could see how she could pull off for 6 months, not, hiding that she was pregnant with me. And then when she told him, he was like, that's it. We're getting rid of it. We're getting rid of it. And about a week before I was born, he gave my mom $100 and then said, go buy something for the kid. But I always felt like, he never wanted me, he was always too busy, never, and then I was walking on eggshells. So, he was kind of loved by the people at his work, loved by, the people on the radio. He talked to people on the radio, but he was just kind of seemed very grumpy and angry all the time. And so I just never wanted to be home. So my challenge was fixed by not being home ever. So by the time I was allowed to go in the AM, by the time I'm supposed to be home at 6 p.m., 6 p.m. rolls around, oh, I'm late, 6:30, 6:40, 7 o'clock. So I was kind of one of those that pushed the limits and got in more trouble than I should have because I knew I was getting in trouble. So next I'm supposed to be home at 6, the 8:30 rule, so I'll never get home, and type of thing. So that was a challenge, just having to walk on eggshells growing up.
Yeah, yeah, I can totally get that. How's your relationship with your dad today?
He passed 6 years ago. He didn't have a relationship with me much over, the whole entire duration of my life. I was out of my house just before I turned 16 years old, and been was on my own ever since. It was really awkward because my mom was the opposite: beautiful, loving, kind, endearing. She'd be coming, I'd be staying at different friends' houses. And I remember staying at this one person's house that his name was Cody, and his mom was Rhonda. She had a kid with a famous hockey player. And so they were kind of a little bit, well off, and, had money, but she didn't know how to cook. She burned everything. She even put water to boil on the stove. And next thing you know, there's no water and smoke's going. Like, she literally burnt water. Right. So, every AM for toast, I'd be scratching the burnt off the toast. So I was really hungry all the time. And my mom would show up with a pizza almost every night. She'd cook a pizza in the oven. She'd get those 99-cent co-op pizzas. She'd cook it, put it in some tin foil, and then show up. She'd sit out. She never came to the house, never met the lady, but she'd sit outside. I'd eat the pizza. So I'd have food, and then I was able to manage without being hungry all the time. So, but I'd asked him, like, the only time we even seen each other was Christmases and Thanksgivings, or just certain special occasions when we'd have dinners at my sisters, or I'd come here, and it'd always be awkward because he never had anything nice to say to me throughout my entire life. I was living at a house for the first time. I think I was probably 38 or 39 years old. I was living in like a 5,500 square foot house with on a lake with my own dock that we used to fish off of. That was the first time that he ever came to my house and ever seen, like, my house and thing. And he came and he fished. He couldn't catch a fish. Oh, there must be no fish in there. He was like, but I tried over the years, when I came over to the house and say, hey, let's go play some pool, or let's go play some ping pong. But you never wanted to do anything with me. So it was just weird to have a dad but not have a dad for my entire life. He was a great provider. If there was any help or emergency, he was there. He's that type, but just emotionally checked out. So it was almost like not having a father for my duration of my life.
Yeah.
When he got sick, my mom obviously needed some help, taking him around places, picking him up and things if he'd ever fall and stuff. He got cancer, and I tried to get him on some dried apricot seeds or cannabis oil, and all this kind of wouldn't do anything. Just trusted the doctor, went on chemo, and then was dead within like 10 or 11 months by the time he was diagnosed, because obviously the chemo killed him. But during that time, he had said the first nice thing to me that I ever remember him saying to me was, you're a good driver, right? Because he says, your mom just jerks and this, and he would complain because he liked to complain, right? Complain about everybody, especially like he had something always to complain about me. But at this time, he was said that I actually was a good driver. And that's something that I'll never forget, because it was nice to hear something nice from your dad, that at least he thought one thing highly of you, that you could drive. And so that was kind of an important time in my life.
Yeah, for sure. Jesse, I'm interested now on your healing journey, you being very aware and conscious, how you've worked through that, what you said, having a dad who may as well have been absent, was emotionally absent. How have you, done any work around that, that you can now share that particular experience with other men who may be watching, who have also had this absence of father in their life?
I think the most important part, which has helped me, like, not only is mostly I've been friends with a lot of females in my life. I've really liked females for a point in time in my life. I didn't really like males too much, the way they were, the way they talked, the way they treated women and things. So I had a hard time getting along with a lot of males. But I had a great relationship with females all my life. Like I said, I like females from the time that I was like 6 or 7. I used to watch soap operas with my mom and my sister, so I always had stuff to talk to them about, like because the Young and the Restless and Days of Our Lives was something. So that was great. But for my healing journey, I was always been able to talk to women and talk about things and talk about. I'm a Scorpio, and a triple Scorpio, 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 Scorpio. So we're kind of secretive, we're kind of protective. We really protect our heart. But my healing journey was being able to have people to talk to and be able to share without having to worry about things. And I think that's really helped me along the way. But obviously there's still more healing that can be done, because that's not an easy childhood to go through. And even though I'm pretty balanced, and but I still have issues like probably most other people do, but most people would just not admit that, especially if you're a male, because they just know it all.
Yeah. So where did little Jesse learn to be a man?
I guess in the streets, I guess. I was adopted by some really rough and tough people that just saw me and wanted to protect me. And then taught me how to protect myself, to stop being bullied. And then once I found out my true power, then wow, I was like running the street type of thing. And but I was trying to do things in a good way, even though I was, in a kind of a bad situation. Like there was a new gang that came to our city from another province's younger brothers, a big, kind of a native gang, and they came to Calgary and they were beating up all the drunks at the nighttime and robbing them and beating them up and stuff. So I went to the leader of their gang and I said, "You can't be doing this in my city." And I said, I don't want this to have bigger repercussions. And then that stuff stopped. So like that's pretty manly to, and I went there by myself, to talk to, these people. So I guess, that's kind of what really, taught me how to be a man, because obviously my dad didn't, and me being out of my house at an early age, I had to become a man and figure it out on my own.
Yeah, this is interesting because, I mean, obviously now we're coming into a stage where we can see the difference between, say, healthy masculinity and wounded masculinity. So, it's amazing that you got this sort of streetwise education from the gangs there. So, what qualities can you specify of, say, healthy masculinity that they taught you?
Loyalty, respect, brotherhood, kind of teamwork. We're working together, we look out for each other. And I think that those are really healthy qualities, even though it was maybe a little shady time in my life. The things that were going on weren't of the best thing, but I was always trying to make the best of it. And I always had in my heart, a need to change the world. And I was telling everybody, I'm going to become Prime Minister of Canada. I'm going to change the world. I'm going to make this world a better place. And, everybody will vote for you. And I used to go around on the bus or here or there, everywhere at parties, telling people some of the things that I wanted to do to change the world. So even though I was in kind of a wild situation, I always still had my heart. And I always wanted to make this. When I knew things were wrong, I knew that we could make this world a better place. And, if I wasn't so pulled with the drugs and alcohol for so long, I'm sure I would have done a lot more than I have now. But I've been doing my best that I can for the last 9 years, that I've really got that out of my life, started to find out more me, balanced me, and then being able to share that with the world.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're doing a great job, Jesse. So what advice also have you got to men that were bullied as young children? How did you overcome that wound, and what have you got to say to people that are still struggling with that?
Well, I don't know if this is the advice, but once I found out my, power, and once I had these people around me, I used to go hunt bullies. I used to go look for people picking on people. If there was ever a fight that was going on around me, I'd walk up right in between the two people, and then neither of them would know who I was. So they thought I was with the other person, and then fights would just dissipate. Like I was really like, I don't know, I took it to like kind of the extreme, which that's not probably the best advice to give people because I put myself into harm's way, which, thankfully that, most of the time, it dispersed. But I've literally fought like numerous gangsters by myself at the same time because of some of the times that I've got myself into, strange situations because of, my, like I said, my heart, and then sometimes my mouth would say some things that probably shouldn't, and then next thing you know, things would happen. But I guess to anybody that is being bullied, that it doesn't happen forever. There's just times in the life that for me it was mainly, when I was, at the age just trying to figure out who I was. He was easily picked around. I was just, trying to love everybody. And, it was just kind of a short period of time, childhood, but, it was kind of a relatively compared to my life. But, you still get the bullies, you still get the online bullies now, you still get the people. If you're out there putting yourself in front of multiples people, you're going to have people that love you and adore you, and there's going to be people that are going to be out there just to push your buttons or just to try to destroy you for whatever reason, with whatever lies or whatever make believe stuff they make up in their head. And then you're going to experience that. So it's just a matter of, not stooping to their level, to not become them. When you're responding, you always want to be better than, the reactions, because the two wrongs don't make a right. Right. So you don't want to become them to try to defeat them. You always want to be smarter than whatever situation is presenting to yourself.
Great, good advice. Thanks, Jesse. So let's go on to your adulthood. What would you say was your rock bottom moment?
My rock bottom moment in adulthood, I guess it was the point I was maybe 21 years old. I didn't want to, be involved in the lifestyle that I was in with the people that I was in. So I was breaking away. And at one point, I didn't have any food. I remember there was some mayonnaise and some onions, what I had to eat. So I would just peel the onion and dip it in the mayonnaise, and so that was a point where, that was one of the lower points of my life where, I just knew that, I wanted to do better, and I could do better and I could make better. So, I kind of got away from that lifestyle. My dad actually helped me get a job. For my first kind of job, I was working at a nursing home. So before, when I was still at home, every summer, my dad was a house painter. So I started painting when they managed apartment buildings. So when I was 4 or 5 years old, I was rolling walls and like helping paint from a very, very young age. So when I was like 12, and during the summer, I would work at his painting company that he worked for, 13, 14. So I knew how to house paint was kind of one of my skills that, he was able to, to pass on to me. So when I wanted to get out of the lifestyle, and then my dad said there was an opportunity for painting at this nursing home. It was the most prestigious nursing home in Calgary, a Jewish run nursing home, very expensive, and I did maintenance there. And so, I got from kind of a low point, and then now all of a sudden I started making money, and then I was there for a year, and then I got them to lay me off so I could go get my high school diploma, and then I went to college, and kind of progressed from that really low point where I didn't even have like I'm sure I could have called my mom, but at the time when you're like 21 years old, you got a lot of pride as a man, and it's hard to ask people and say that I'm such a low point. So I was just eating, onions and mayonnaise. And I was able to progress my life through there. And like I said, unfortunately, a lot of my life had drugs and alcohol and bad decisions, and being taken advantage of, and wake up in the AM, and you'd have no money. You'd spend, oh my, I can't believe how much money, how many times I go to the bank machine last night. And there was a lot of times that were kind of roller coaster ride that comes with drugs and alcohol. So I guess you could say that was as well some low points as an adult. But once I decided, I was on a houseboating trip, and I thought I broke my back, I broke my hand, I got stung by a bee. I was like, it was just this crazy houseboating trip I was on with a bunch of lunatics. Somebody I thought was tried to kill me, and like it was just crazy time. And that was it. I said that I'm not going to drink anymore. And I was able to drive back home, and like I could hardly breathe because my back hurt. I thought my back was broken, and came back, and I got my hand, casted, and my back was just, there was muscles pulled in my back. And that was again another low point in my life, which that was, I decided that was it. So I quit alcohol. And then during that time I was still doing, the synthetic drugs and, ecstasies and MDMAs type of thing. But, after I quit drinking 6 months. And so what happened there is how I quit that is I went to a reflexologist, and I was still doing like partying every weekend, but without the alcohol, but in, these synthetic drugs. And I went to a reflexologist, and she was massaging my feet. What they do, they just massage around, and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, she said to me, she goes, "Do you do a lot of ecstasy?" And this person doesn't know me, right? So, and she knows nothing about me. And I was like, no, but I'm doing kind of a lot of MDMA right now. She goes, "Well, I can feel a lot of callus on your heart." She goes, "You better like, slow down on that." That was it. That one reflexology, never again did I touch any synthetic drugs. Like, I'd done the alcohol, done the synthetic drugs, that was it. And then 6 months later, I was able to quit smoking cigarettes, stop smoking cigarettes. Was one of the big reasons why I stopped the alcohol, because I tried a bunch of times to stop smoking. And every time I started drinking again, I started smoking again. So all of those, things go hand in hand. And once I got rid of all of that, there was so much weight lifted off of my shoulders. And then I was able to start to really find myself again, and then know that a lot of people around me were using me because of how nice I was, and how I would provide these big houses for people to come and use and abuse. I had lakes and indoor swimming pools and all kinds. I was making lots of money, so I had these nice things, but I just spent it all. I never had more than 10,000 in my bank, because I was just living like just a fun lifestyle with everybody around me. And so I figured out that once I stopped that, everybody stopped calling, everybody stopped. You see that people were using you for, what you were doing, what you could provide. So I really had to do a lot of soul searching, finding out me, that I like me. I like spending time with me, whether I was with people or not. I could still enjoy myself. I could go to a basketball court, shoot around for 2 hours by myself, and still enjoy my time. I didn't have to be around other people in order to enjoy my own time. And I think that that really, kind of solidified who I was and made me start to be able to flourish as Jesse again.
Yeah, great story. So I just want to break this down into alcohol, drugs, and smoking. And let's just touch on each one and give some specific points of how you specifically gave up those addictions. So let's start with alcohol. How specific? Did you just go cold turkey? How did you help it? What was your mental attitude?
So the only thing that I was really addicted to was the cigarettes. Okay. So at any time I could not drink. 3 times before I quit smoking, and well, I guess and even the smoking. So 3 times I went 2 months, 4 months, and 6 months. 3 times over a 10-year period that I tried to quit, just cold turkey. I just stopped drinking, stopped smoking, stopped, drugs, everything. I just stopped it. And I went 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. So, during the different years, but those 3 times that I tried to quit, and I could just go cold turkey. That was it. I've been partying, I've been smoking, drinking, and then I just decide one day I'm not going to do it anymore. So just even the cigarettes, which a lot of people have a lot of withdrawals, just stop. And so there's been 6 months I go, and then all of a sudden it comes New Year's, and then we go out for New Year's. I say, okay, I'm gonna have some drinks. I haven't smoked or drank in 6 months. And I start drinking 2, 3 drinks, 4 drinks in, and then I need to smoke. And we were playing pool, and you could still smoke inside. The people next to me, hey, do you mind if I have a cigarette? And no problem, I get a smoke. Next thing you know, we're going out to the bar. You need to go to the store, grab a pack of smokes because now we're going out. And then, when I drank quite excessively. So I wasn't like one of those that you have 2 or 3 drinks. I'm in like 20 or 30 drinks sometimes, going for 24 or 36 straight hours of, like hardcore partying. And fall asleep, wake up, you got half a pack of smokes in the pocket, and then the next day I start smoking like I hadn't quit smoking, like I hadn't stopped for 6 months. I am on 10, 12 smokes the next day, and I'm right back on it. So I told myself, if I ever really want to quit smoking cigarettes or stop, I try not to say quit, I just try to say stop. I try to watch what my words are. So and when uh, I said, if I ever want to stop smoking, I'm going to have to stop drinking. So when I stopped drinking, and again, just cold turkey, that was it. My bad houseboating trip, that was it. I made that decision. I'm very good. I'm very strong willed. When I decide I want to do something, when I make a decision, I'm really like to honor myself with those decisions and not be a little bit wafy from side to side. And then 1 year later, I stopped smoking. I had a quit smoking ceremony with my 2 daughters. One lasted a month, one lasted a week. And here's me coming up on, 8 years, or over 8 years now. It was September. I believe it was September 1st. It was September 5th when I quit alcohol, and then it was September 1st. We had the quit smoking ceremony, and 8 years later, 8.5 almost maybe now, that I haven't had a cigarette since.
Congratulations. And
Thank you.
how did quitting those substances um, purify your life? Like, were you able to think clearer? Did you get physically healthier? What were the benefits of giving those up?
Well, when you're an excessive partier and you do a lot of alcohol, a lot of drugs, a lot of smoking a lot, your lungs are getting, worse. There was a point where it was the next day, we had partied all night. And I remember this was one time that, it was quite scary for me. I've lived my life without fear. I've tried to just live life to its fullest, party to its fullest, experience life to its fullest, travel to its fullest. I've just had a pretty wild, fun life, and even through all those times, like my life has been almost like a TV or a movie. You could write like a movie out of some of the crazy stuff that's happened into my life. But at one point, after partying all night, I couldn't breathe. I was taking the smalls. My lungs were so restricted and constricted that I was taking, and it was like I couldn't take a breath. I couldn't breathe, and I was like little bit scared because I thought that if I can't breathe, I'm not gonna live. And so I guess when I decided to stop, some of these things go in your head, like, of these situations of the terrible time houseboating, the time you couldn't breathe, like, all these other situations that there was one time where I was smoking inside the bar. I came outside and there was these 2 groups of gangsters that were yelling at each other. And and I'm smoking, I'm pretty drunk, and I'm smoking, and they're yelling, and you're this and you're that. One side was Spanish and the other side was kind of like Arabic, Lebanese type, and they're yelling at each other. And And I finished my smoke and nothing happened. I'm like, what are you guys, a bunch of wussies? Are you guys gonna yell at each other? You guys gonna fight? Well, next thing you know, they all turned towards me, and now I'm fighting two sets. They broke out into fights too, but I was fighting like 20 guys by myself, right? And my buddy ended up I was must have been fighting for like 5 or 10 minutes. My buddy went to the car and he grabbed a big machete out of the car. He was gonna chop the person that was right next to me. I jumped up, I grabbed the machete out of his hand. I literally saved the guy that I'm fighting's life because he was about to like take this thing and like chop him. And as soon as I grabbed it out of his hand, the bouncer comes and sprays mace in my face. So now I can't see. I've got this machete in my hand. I'm fighting two sets of gangsters. And I don't know if you ever seen the movie Bloodsport, but that's how the guy, he got his stuff in his eyes and he couldn't see. And next thing you know, he's like having to fight without looking. But that's how I was with this machete in my hand. But at that time, I wasn't trying to save anybody. I was making sure that if anybody tried to hurt me, they were. So I just got myself in these crazy situations that, if I wasn't drinking, if I didn't say anything, that wouldn't have happened. So it was a lot easier to, when you've gone through all these ways, crazy wild experiences, and then to look and just say, hey, I want better. I don't want to continue on like that. Or the times you wake up in the AM and you've gone to the bank machine 3 times and you got zero money in the bank. Oh no, now I got to wait, 9 days before I get money again. So, just a lot of these wild situations, putting yourself in, it's a lot easier to smooth sail where you don't have to worry about draining your bank account or things like that, or getting into these situations where you're putting your life in danger.
Well, yeah, or you could have been sitting in a prison cell, with someone else dead on the scene. That's definitely crazy. Wow. um, so Jesse, let's talk. You've got this show Missing Links. So you've interviewed, you said, over 400 people in 2 years. What do you see going on with men? I'm going to estimate that half of those are men, male. What do you see happening with men in the collective at the moment?
Well, I would say maybe 80% is maybe men. I'm trying to interview as many of, the ladies as possible, but there's not a lot that are speaking out. There's not a lot that are, out there putting their face out. So at one point I had someone, kind of a friend, but, just someone I had met through the internet. We'd been Facebook friends for a while. And why are you just interviewing men and all this? And I'm like, but it's not that I'm looking to interview men. I'm like, there's not a lot of female options, right? So I've been really trying to get more, female content or female interviews and stuff, just so it's not like you're just focusing on men. Like, I didn't even know that was the thing that was happening. Like, I didn't see that it was mostly men that I was interviewing. But what's happening, I guess, with men, I guess this alien thing is really coming to the forefront right now. Of people that believe they're communicating with aliens, and that people, like, we're actually going to have an alien show on Monday, May 1st. We're going to be doing a Bible show, but it's kind of going to be fascinating because a lot of people that we're going to bring onto the panel are people they believe that they're actual characters from the Bible, reincarnation. So I think there's going to be 2 or 3 Jesuses, a couple Archangel Michaels, a guy that thinks he's John the Baptist, and all these. So it's going to be, I'm going to try to talk about the Bible, but it's going to be a lot of strong personalities with a lot of beliefs. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be quite an entertaining show. And then on May the 4th, because I say may the source be with you, because I just like, I was watching Star Wars and I thought this would be great. Instead of may the force be with you, may the source be with you, because source energy. So I've really adopted that into the Missing Link and tried it at the end of the show. May the source be with you, and to everybody, may the source be with you all. So May the 4th is like, may the 4th be with you, may the source be with you. So we're doing a galactic show on May the 4th where we're inviting all kinds of people who believe that they were connecting with aliens, contacting the galactics, and a lot of people that have these ideals and thoughts, and we're going to bring them all together for like 3 or 4 hours, and people in and out. Like, we've interviewed people that, like a female that believes that she was impregnated by an alien when she was 12, and then a Nordic alien came and was stopped them and pulled out the implant. And so we're just gonna, and we interviewed another guy who thinks he's a Lyran prince, and he's been getting all these secret messages coming on his phones, and he's taking them all through Antarctica and all these different places. So we've interviewed a lot of wild people, and that we're doing that on May the 4th. So, but I think the overall, kind of thing that, we're having to figure out is the whole galactic, and who are they talking to, and what, are the aliens real, are they not real, are they coming here, are they going to do a fake alien invasion? Is all of the people that believe that they communicate with aliens, are they setting up the stage for this fake alien invasion because so many people believe that they're having these contacts? And who are they contacting? Is this a CIA program connecting with people to make them believe that they're contacting? Like, so there's just a lot of craziness that's going on, and I've seen that's kind of a theme, kind of. But how are things developed in the last 2 years with the men? I guess getting out of the pandemic and less afraid. More and more people are speaking out. Less people are afraid to speak out. And I think the stuff like the missing link has opened that door, because we've had a lot of people come and they've never interviewed with anyone before. I'd like you to be my first interview, they say, Jesse, and that's really, I feel honored when someone says that to me, because it's just to trust me enough to be able to bring them up on stage. So I hope I answered your question there.
Yeah, so yeah, well, aliens definitely fascinating. And if we got time at the end of the show, I might pin you to get a position on that, seeing you've interviewed so many people. Yeah, I'm more interested in, well, this show's Heart Warriors. And I know because I asked you before we started if you knew what you're in for, if you'd seen any other episodes. And you said no. I said that's fine. I'm interested in men on their healing journey. So, what do you see happening, as the collective men in Canada, let's say? What's happening? Are men rising? Are there more of them aware of the heart energy like you? Are they wanting to heal from their emotional wounds? What do you see happening?
Um, I'm connected with a lot of people online more than I am with maybe the people around. We're kind of in this kind of internet world. I don't go out as much to these places. I just had double hip replacement surgery where they cut off both of my legs and they put on new hip joints. So again, for the last, 5+ years, it was easier just to stay at home and work on my phone than I'll constantly be in pain going places. And then now kind of been stuck at home. So I kind of know a wide variety of people from all around the world, not supposedly just Canadians and things, but people are really doing the shadow work. They're doing the dark night of the soul. They're facing their fears, being in touch with their inner child. There people are starting, and this, for me, that makes me so happy, because I felt, kind of alone from a lot of the males. I had lots of strong, tough figures that I knew because of, how I grew up and stuff. These were rough and tough friends that got out of those things, but they're still that tough masculine and make fun of each other type of thing, which, that wasn't really my thing, to do. But those are kind of the males that kind of I knew and kind of grew up with and surrounded myself. But more and more people I'm connecting with, and more people I'm seeing as a collective that are doing this healing, this shadow work, being able to be more open and honest. And I think when you have strong role model male figures that are out in public, guys, that are able to, expose themselves, make themselves vulnerable in front of people, on a larger audience, and people see that, then that helps them to be brave and to start, maybe admitting that, they've got some inner turmoil, or how to get some help and start talking to and communicating people. So yeah, I think as a collective, especially this last 3 years, I've seen more people wake up and become aware than I have in the 30 years combined previous. So I think we're heading in a good place. Is there still challenges? Oh yeah, we're still being run by some pretty horrific people. The system is really, it's a beast system that just wants to feed and feed and feed, and we're the food, right? So until we figure that out, there's strong people that are becoming strong in their own power, but we're still all having to battle this system until this system is corrected. We need more and more people to get strong in order, because it's been a big attack on men, big attack on men's masculinity, a big attack on, feminizing men. There's a big attack by putting estrogen in everything. If you open up a can of soup, what's it lined with? Estrogen. Why is it? Because there's hormone disruptors, getting the women feeling more too much, estrogen is getting them off balance, feeling more masculine, getting the men feeling more feminine. It's like been a systemized chemical attack, but especially on the men, because the less strong men to stand up to this, then the harder it is for us to, tackle this challenge. The less, strong, men we have to fight against it.
Yeah, this is a great subject. Thanks for bringing it up, Jesse. So you spoke about the chemical attack, hormone disruptors for men and for women, but I do agree that, it's been masculinity that has been attacked, and the agenda has purposely, weaponized the collective to subdue healthy masculinity. So what other ways do you feel that masculinity has been attacked?
Well, basically in every way, that it's to the point that, if you're someone who talks about, strength as a man and stuff, then you're, ostracized by the women. Look at, he's, this and he's that. So, if the person gets attacked, and we're being like verbally attacked, we're being physically attacked, we're being attacked in all kinds of ways that, and then the light skinned men are really being attacked. If you're white, you can't be proud, but if you're dark skinned, you can be proud that you're black. If you're, Asian, you can have Asian pride, but if you're white, yeah, white pride. Well, guess what? Now you're a racist. Now you're this. The people with light skin are having a really tough time to feel, strong and masculine in who you are, because now that's a problem. Now you're a misogynist. Now you're a racist. Now you're, these labels and these things, which making it hard for men these days to come into their own power, because when you feel that power and you want to live in that power, you're being attacked for it, and that kind of sends lots of wrong signals, and it makes people not want to step in their true power like they should be here on earth.
Yeah, this is great. Let's keep going with this, Jesse. So I'm interested, are the attacks coming from men or from women on the whole?
Well, I think it's collectively. You see it in the movies, you see it in the music, you see it in, the women and women's lib, and men are scum, and you're seeing it, like, I guess it's more vocal by women, because they're the ones, yes, they're pointing out all the male deficiencies, and if anybody's stepping out, and so, and it's like who screams the loudest kind of wins, because people just, okay, shut up, like, and people, climb into their shell because they don't want to be put into the spotlight of these small groups of attackers. But it seems like these small groups, because they're so vocal, they're listened to. Then we're being really, our pathway is really being molded by these small hate groups, and they're looking at, oh well, we're the minorities, you shouldn't hate us and all this, but they're the ones that are projecting it and making it, more of an issue than it is. And then again, the whole world is being molded and swayed from side to side by some of these targeted groups and stuff. So I guess it's coming from all directions, but the biggest one I think is what's harming us the most is the chemical poisoning that we're all facing, whether it's through the water, through the air, through the food, through the medications, the pesticides, the preservatives, the stuff they're injecting into animals. If you're a meat eater, you're eating these, meat that's got hormones and antibiotics and weight gainers and steroids, and 90% of the pharmaceuticals sold in the world get injected into animals, and not the animals that you're just having because you want them as a pet, even though that they're injecting a lot of animals with that. But we're talking about food is being injected. So when you eat that meat, you actually are eating those chemicals, and again, hormone disruptors. And they did a study on frogs with astrazine, and astrazine turns frogs in from actual breeding frogs with a male and a female frog, and they give them this astrazine where they don't want the females anymore and they start wanting to have sex with the males. This is an actual study that's done with the chemical that shows how this changes the physiology of people by the chemical attacks. And then people are so, they want to be, well, this is how I feel and this is who I am. But they don't realize that maybe it's the chemicals that are making them feel different than, who they were biologically supposed to be. So, it's just kind of a crazy, crazy time that we're living in. But I think the biggest attack on humanity is the chemical poisoning that we're all going through. The mind stuff, the talking is just, byproduct of, people not being able to find that true balance inside of themselves.
Fascinating. Okay. So, Jesse, you said you're a dad and two beautiful daughters. What, how are you parenting, fathering differently to how your dad fathered you?
Well, I got a wild story when it comes to the kids, how they came about, but how am I different, is because my dad was closed off. He wasn't, like I said, didn't show affection between my mom and my dad, wasn't huggy, wasn't, the hold hands. And I'm the total opposite. I love them. I show them love. I take them everywhere. I did the best that I could, even though at some points in my life I had wild and crazy stuff going on. I always tried to make sure I had time with them. Like my real blood daughter, when I was with her mom, we had broken up, and I was working at Imperial Oil at the time. It was like an oil company, and we had broken up, and oh no, this was TransCanada Pipelines, and my boss lent me his car, and my ex-girlfriend said she had some stuff that of mine that she wanted to give back, and then I was going to give her stuff. So I borrowed my boss's Mazda Miata. Didn't have a car at the time, but I had this cool convertible and went to go see her. Got my stuff. She said that she had gotten together with someone who she was best friends with when they were 12 years old or whatever. They'd gotten together and they were moving out to BC. And then I'm like, okay, great. Wish you luck and everything. She goes, by the way, I'm pregnant, and lifts up her shirt. And I like look and didn't see any belly or whatever. It would have been maybe 3-4 months. I don't know. I didn't see anything. And I was just like, okay. And I drove off. And so that night I'm thinking, pregnant? I'm gonna be a dad. What the heck? Right. And I thought this was kind of crazy. So the next day I phone her, and then the cell phone wasn't working. Like there was no, it was disconnected, right? She didn't have her phone. And so I was like, okay, I need to go see her and figure this out. If I'm going to be a dad, like this is something I need to know. And so I borrowed my boss's car again, drove over there, and I think I got there at 1 p.m. And the next door neighbor said they had just moved out when about 12 p.m. So they were gone. So I didn't have a way to contact, didn't have a way to contact her or anything. And that was it. That I didn't hear or see anything again. So I didn't know, is she really pregnant? Was she just saying that? I didn't know anything. And then just before I moved to Cancun, Mexico, I went and lived in Cancun for a while. I had broken my leg. I did a lot of bar promotions for a lot of years. I got paid to drink. I got paid to party. So that's hence why the drugs and the alcohol. I got paid to do this stuff. They paid me for bar promotions. They paid me to do things like I did a lot of like hustling. I used to go to the bar and play pool for money. I'd go with, 20 or 30 bucks in my pocket. At the end of the night, I'd have like 20 drinks lined up on the table, $200 in my pocket. So I was constantly, in this kind of wild lifestyle. But I was doing bar promotions. I was helping run a company where we did Meet Your Mate. We were hooking people up in the bar, and I was the love doctor. I'd find people from each side. Like I'd, sell to guys and to girls. They'd fill out questionnaires and I'd link them up. And after one of my bar promotions, and they gave us free drinks, and plus I made money. I'd walk out of the bar with $200 or $300 playing these games for people. Like I've had any, like, money's been really easy for me to make, the just like I said, with the no fear and just, live life to its fullest. I ended up going to an after hours club, and I was dancing my butt off, and I ended up stepping in a hole in the floor, and I snapped my leg in half, and I got a tib fib fracture where I broke my leg in half. And so when I was healing at my sister's house, because obviously I wasn't allowed to be kind of around my dad in the house and things. So I was healing at my sister's house, and then the phone rings, and this was my ex. And she said, "I'm getting married today. I just wanted to let you know that you have a 2 year old daughter, 2 or 3 year old daughter." And I'm like, but at this time I was just ready to move to Mexico, right? I didn't know anything. And this was on a Wednesday, and I was moving on Saturday. And I said, well, I'm moving to Mexico in 3 days. I said, this is my parents' address and phone number. Please keep them updated. And I want to obviously be a part of my daughter's life when I get back, and because this was, 20 some years ago, when communication was just email type of thing. Computers were just starting and stuff. And we never heard from her again, and never heard from them. When I came back, I tried doing searches, couldn't find her, over the years. And when she was 14, just before she was 15, she had reached out to me, and she had just friend requested me. And usually I check everybody's friend requests, like, to see who they are and friends. For some reason I just accepted. And then all of a sudden started getting some messages. Or no, the next day her mom said, okay, well, your daughter just reached out to you. She wanted to be a part of your life. And then, the first week we sent 1,000 text messages back and forth from each other, because she didn't have a phone you could talk. And so that's how I ended up meeting that daughter. So I wasn't able to parent. But when I was living in Mexico, my best friend, who I promised if anything ever happened to his family, I said I'd help look out for them if anything ever happened to him. And so when I was living in Mexico, he had killed himself. So I came back, to Canada to kind of figure what was going. I had some issues in Mexico with some of the cartels there. They wanted half of my money for taking people to VIP to the nightclubs. Again, I was getting paid to party, going to the bar every night, getting hammered, having hundreds of dollars in my pocket every night from just going to get, party. But they wanted half of my money, and I told them to go F themselves, and got into a few scuffles with them. And then I was told that they were looking for me with this. And so the next day I was out and I was gone, and my buddy killed himself. So I came back to Canada. And then I went to his girlfriend, who that was her only real boyfriend. They got together when I think she was 15 and he was 17. She was pregnant at 16, I think, for the first time. And they had 2 kids, and she was pregnant with their third child, and he died 1 month before his third one was born. So I had actually, and then the kids were taken away because of their drug and alcohol. The kids were in foster care and with the grandparents, and all this was crazy. But so when I came back, she didn't want to live anymore. And so I spent all my time with her, took her to counseling, helped her get a place, helped her get her kids back. And then I inherited an instant family. So I inherited 3 kids. The youngest was 6.5 months old. I was the one who always wore the snuggly, and like me and him bonded like, it was wild. And I just kind of became an instant dad, ultimate crazy wild bachelor, living the most wildest crazy life that you could possibly imagine. Like there's not many people that could say that they're having more of a wild time to that point in their life, and then all of a sudden I'm instant dad, right? So that kind of changed things a lot for me, and I helped raise, I lived with them for 10 years, and and they kind of had it shitty, and that's why I started getting like a lot of these really nice houses. Like three of the houses we lived in had indoor pools. Three of the houses we lived in were on lakes, big, massive, beautiful. They never had food when they were together. I always made sure their freezer full and cupboards full, and they never not had to worry if they'd ever have food. So I did a lot of things for them, to make sure that they had it better than they had before, and to give them a good start on life, to not have that kind of crazy and in and out of foster homes, and in and out and back, and like so that's how I have four kids, but only one is biological. And so that's kind of where I had the two daughters, had the quit smoking ceremony. One was blood, and one was, the one I had raised at that point for, I think, 12 or 13 years. I'd raised her, for, to have that quit smoking ceremony with the both of them. So that's kind of, I just want to give you a little bit of, because my life has been, like I said, it's been like a kind of like a movie, like, like some of this stuff people would say is unbelievable, but I got tons of people that can verify all this stuff.
Oh, yeah, no, it's fascinating. Thank you for sharing. Now, Jesse, a lot of women watch this show, and I'm not saying that, but some women do purposely keep their fathers away from their children. And you've experienced that for the first 14 years of your daughter's life. Can you speak about that and what that does to a man, or what it did to you?
Uh, I guess I didn't really know if I had a daughter, so it's a little bit different than, getting together. At first 2 years, I didn't even know, and then I get this random phone call, and then not knowing. So it was really hard on me as a man and as a person, to know that there's someone out there that you helped create, but you're not able to be in that person's life. So that was very, very difficult. And then when I had met her, she at 14, just about 15, a few months before she turned 15, she had started drugs and alcohol when she was 12. She had told me when I had met her, she called, she's dad. She's like, I haven't done enough hard alcohol, or not hard drugs, to be addicted to them yet. So she was already, like, because she had an older brother and sister who were into the drugs and alcohol. So, that's because I was dating, when I was dating her, she had two kids, right? I've never had an issue with dating anyone that had kids, right? Like that wasn't, ever an issue. So she had two kids, which were, I think they were 3 and 5. So, 3 and 5 years, 6 years older, six, so they're at the point where they're experimenting and all this, and got her into that. But just it's one of the hardest things as a man, to not be able to be in your child's life, and that devastated me. And still, I have never been able to make it into a beautiful relationship, because she got caught in the drugs and the alcohols, and the bad roads and things. And I wanted to be kind of like, I learned how to be a parent. So as crazy it is that I was able to learn how to be a parent, because I inherited three kids. While I had a kid out there, I was being, taught all these skills on parenting skills. So then when she came into my life, I wanted to be that parent. But she was at the point where she was out experiencing the life and the drugs, and she had some horrible things happen to her, and things. So she was, really immersing herself in the drugs and alcohol, and then meeting one shitty guy after another, and not enabling us to have a relationship because of the choices that she makes. And for me not to be able to have helped mold her. And, I can't really, take, responsibility for these things because I wasn't there to be able to, help guide her. And the crazy part is that she moved into close to me. I was maybe an hour away from her by the time she was 11 or 12. So if when she moved back to my province, if the mom would have said and reached out and found me, then maybe I could have been there to help prevent her from some of these bad things happening, from her getting into the alcohols and drugs, because I could have observed things and did things. And that feels horrific, not knowing that I could have maybe helped her in some of these things, along her journey. And yeah, it doesn't make me feel good at all. Like, it was horrible what she did. And that's something I can't forgive. She's no longer with us. The mom ended up ODing and no longer with us. So she was obviously into the alcohol and the drugs, but and raised the kids without having barriers or things to stop them, to prevent them. And she took the kid away from me, my daughter away from me, and didn't do a very, very awesome job for her to be in this situation and stuff. So yeah, it doesn't feel good as a parent not to be able to at least be in the child's life. Like, that's something I would never ever recommend, unless obviously the dad is a total douchebag where he's purposely doing things to harm the kids, or putting them in, or angry, and putting this anger in things. Obviously there's situations where maybe there has to be some type of protection for the children from parents, and it could be vice versa. If the dad is having a child and you got this crazy drug addict mom that is putting the child in harm's way, I would never say that a parent shouldn't have access, but it may have to be supervised, if depending on how crazy that parent may be. But I don't think there's any real situations besides actual physical abuse or sexual abuse where the parent shouldn't have contact with their own child.
Yeah, for sure. Jesse, would you describe yourself as religious or spiritual?
I was born Catholic. I got baptized, but I never really went to church. My mom would maybe take us at Christmas time or an Easter for sit there for a little bit, but I never went to Bible studies. I never went to First Communion. I never got religiously indoctrinated at all. So I didn't have that. Like, when I was, younger with all the girls, I had them calling me God and things like that. So I didn't really have any kind of religious teachings in my life at all, period, zero. And as well as in school, I didn't pay attention as much, didn't do I was pretty smart, but I just was more of a class clown, more trying to make friends. I had friends, but then I got bullied by other people. I was kind of out there, so I didn't get the Freemason indoctrination camp, you call school indoctrination, either. So I didn't have that kind of indoctrination. So I've been a pretty open to everything. And then when I was like 17, I had met this girl, Sarah, who became like my best friend. She ended up later on becoming a social worker, but she was very religious. She'd go to church every Sunday. So she started bringing me to church, and I started going. I wanted to learn. I started reading the Bible. And when I was in college, I had some Muslim friends. I was reading the Quran. I was reading about, Buddhism and Taoism. And, so I've kind of look to learn about all the different religious teachings. I had some East Indian friends that went to some of their they would pray to Guru Nanak, and some of their went to some of their churches, went to some mosques. I've kind of gotten an overall, like a little bit of a lot of information. But at the time when I was going with Sarah, every weekend we were going to church and stuff, I ended up baptizing myself maybe when I was like 21 years old. Me and my buddy, I was going to the adult upgrading school, and it was, I don't know, about 1:30 a.m. And there was this a bar that had this bar that had a little dock. And the bar's up there, the dock is there, and I said, I'm going to baptize myself. Let's drive out to this pier. And it's like 1:30 a.m. and I stripped butt naked and went and I baptized myself, and just connected myself with Jesus, and became, a Christian at that point, right? And that's when I just gave my life to the universe and just take me. And, I'm here as your instrument to just do with me as you please. And I baptized myself. And when I got out of the thing, there was a whole bunch of people looking at through the window of this pub. Who's that? Someone's probably seeing that guy just stripped butt naked and he's like in the water. So I got all these people looking at me, but that was kind of my, way to give myself to the universe, right? To give myself to God, to just be this instrument of light the best that I could. And my life is more spiritual. I don't, go preaching the Bible. I've got a lot of Christian friends. They bought me some Bibles, and I just got Enoch. And I'm a student of life. I'm trying to learn as much as I can from every different place. But really, I'm connected to all, and I believe all have goodness in them. I believe everybody's redeemable. I believe that we all have the opportunity to choose whether or not we want to live in our true power of love, or we want to be a douchebag, or we want to be anywhere stuck in between. These are all choices that we all make. It doesn't matter if you're, a Muslim or a Christian, or if you're Jewish, or, you're got any faith or belief. You're either a good person or you're not, or maybe you're somewhere in between. But there's good and there's bad people in every race, color, religion. And I'm accepting of them all. I don't, because one person feels this way or looks this way, and no, that's just that person. I believe that unity is how we can figure out the solutions to our problems, is coming together and appreciating everybody's differences and allowing people to be different. I think once we start allowing people to have different views and have different things, so I guess that's a pretty spiritual, kind of basis to, who I am and how I live.
Yeah, the reason I asked, taking it back to your daughter, do you think that we choose our parents? Do you believe in reincarnation and that we choose our parents?
I 100% throughout my life believe that we do choose our parents. I believe that, the lessons that I had to learn, was with my dad, the, ultimate inside, the mean, then my mom, pure love. So I could see both sides, to see which direction I would go when I was hanging out with the rough and do. Am I going to be a hard ass like my dad and become one of these people that were going to be at the very, very top of a bad network? Or if I was to be dead, or, things, if I would have chose that path, or if I chose the love path. So I really truly think that, we do choose. I do believe in reincarnation. I don't know about past lives. I've had readings and things, and people tell me on this and that, and I've been here for a long time. I truly believe I am an old soul, and that I've been here for a long time, if not since the beginning. And those are just feelings that I have inside of me. So did my daughter choose us as parents? Yeah. Did my daughter know that my girlfriend of my ex was going to keep me away from her? Probably not. I think when you choose your own parents, you don't know the journey. You just choose with what kind of lessons you need to learn, and hopefully that things come in alignment for you to be able to learn the lessons you need to learn. Because we live in a choose your own adventure life. You can take a right or a left at any time. You can live on the straight and narrow, and then all of a sudden meet someone who takes you off a wild, crazy, drug filled life just because of one choice that you made. Did they know that before? Probably not, because I think it's the universe is constantly evolving, that you can't really know. I don't believe in that there's a prophecy, that this is going to happen. I believe it's self-fulfilling, that if prophecies happen, it's because people want them to happen. People are making them happen, and I believe at any time we can change the course of history.
Fascinating. So we'll wrap up soon, Jesse, but I always like to give the opportunity for you to speak about anything that comes to mind regarding man masculinity, the healing journey that we haven't already brought into this conversation.
Well, men and masculinity, the healing journey. Well, just be true to yourself. Don't be scared to, look at yourself objectively. Don't be scared to write little pros and con lists, good things about me, bad things about me, maybe work on things that maybe you don't like, maybe, appreciate some of the things because as much as we're kind of programmed and put into these boxes and put into this program, this matrix that we're in, a lot of people get stuck in those programs and feel that that program is them. But most people, if not all people, are programmed. We've been programmed into these certain things. So just because you've lived a certain way for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, at any point in life, you can objectively look at yourself and maybe look at some of the things that maybe you don't like so much about yourself, and you can fix those things if you really try. There's lots of healers, there's lots of methods, there's lots of different things that you can do. I was able to meet a beautiful woman in this last few years that that's been going on, and she's had quite a crazy life, so we're still trying to figure out a lot of things, just trying to find a balance that's healthy. But it's never too late for yourself. It's never too late to find love. And I believe if you truly have love as your basis to whatever you are and say, I love me, I love you, I love living. I've Once you truly embrace that this is an experience that you can make on your own or break on your own, when you take accountability that it's no, I'm stuck in this job, or I'm stuck, I had these kids or this crazy wife, or once you take accountability and say, hey, I can actually change my circumstances at any time, then you'll get yourself into a place where you truly want to be, and it's never too late to get there.
Yeah, great, great. Thanks, Jesse. What would you say is your highest value as a man?
Uh, Honor, loyalty, respect, love. Like I just base everything on love, and everything else encompasses that. So if I'm living my true self and being, a pure love, then all those loyalty, respect, honor, that just comes into play in that love. But there's, that to me is kind of like of the highest, of stuff, because I love to respect people, and I really love to be respected. And I think that that is something that's high on mine. And I think a lot of men would think that respect is something that is really important to most of us, if not all of us.
Yeah, this is great, and I agree. What would you say to women? How are we maybe unintentionally disrespecting men?
Um, how I guess thinking that a man is the same as a woman, so women tend to think and feel and think a lot, when a man can actually just have a blank mind and actually just be able to watch some sports and be when and a woman, they're always constantly thinking, so they're assuming that men's always thinking and thinking about things, and so they tend to treat a man like if they were like treating them as a woman, like as they, as a woman, or as a, like someone. So I think that that's a big thing, is that men and women are different, And, men have their qualities. Men, sometimes like their alone time, or sometimes like not to talk about things, or maybe like to process things. And you need to find out what kind of man you are in a relationship with, or you are, your family dynamics, and that everybody is different. And maybe some like to talk about things, maybe some don't. Find different ways of communication for the people that don't. Maybe write letters to each other if you can think, because some men just don't find it uncomfortable to talk about certain things, with women. But I guess just respecting the man, who he is and what dynamics he has, because they're all different. Just like women are different. So again, some could be talkative and thinking all the time, where some could be more balanced. So I just finding out who your true dynamics are, and not assuming that all men are the same, and not assuming that all women are the same, because we all come with our own set of experiences. And if you truly want to have a better relationship with the people in your life that are the opposite sex, then you have to honor who they are as a person. And not everybody fits that bill that you have, or that box that you have put them in.
Yeah, great words. Thank you. So we'll wrap up now, Jesse. So three things left. One, we can let people know where they can find you, please, and I'll drop all the links below.
Hey, so we when the lockdown first started, we started this thing called the High Vibe Love Tribe. So because I was into the research and conspiracy stuff for so long, and when the stuff happened, when I saw people dropping in the streets, my first thing was that I said was they lit up the five frequencies, and they people were dropping. And so I decided, instead of going hard on teaching people how bad some of these people are, I wanted to raise the vibration. They wanted everybody in fear, and I wanted everybody to not be afraid, everybody to be in love. So we started this thing called the High Vibe Love Tribe, where we got together for 11 straight months for the first year of the lockdown, where I would put on some techno music and I started dancing and just dancing all around. And that's where the background came, and just, acted silly on the camera, and for the dancing and having fun. And because I was working out every single day, I started adding weights into the workouts and things. And so I did that. And so people would tune in just to watch me dancing around on this thing. And people started buying weights and they were dancing. So we did that for the first hour. And then after, and sometimes depending on how much of mood I was, an hour and 20 minutes. It started off as like 15 minutes, then half an hour, and got up as I got in better shape. But then we calmed it down. I put on some guided meditation, and then I put some healing frequencies, got the Tibetan singing bowl, and I did this thing called the High Vibe Love Tribe. And then so we're going to start that again. I just got my new hips. Once I start out of pain, we're going to, instead of 7 days a week, 2 hours. We did it 11 straight months, 7 days a week, 2 to 4 hours a night. Only 4 days in 11 months we weren't live. People were saying, "You saved my life." People were saying, "I have the best sleeps." We just do the research all day. And one of the things was, there were no talking about the virus or injections. Oh no, you couldn't talk about any of that. No politics, no nothing. It was just about love and community. And at one point we were getting over 3,000 live views of, like, just on Facebook alone. Like, this thing was like rocking, right? So we did that for 11 months, and we're going to start that again, maybe once a week. But that's the High Vibe Love Tribe. But I don't think you have any of those links. But then we created the missing link, where we interview people from all around the world. We've done 452 interviews. We've interviewed all kinds of people like David Icke and Lee Camp and Sasha Stone and Judy Mikovits and Del Bigtree, and 40 plus doctors. And we interviewed Elena Dannon, was the one who got impregnated by an alien when she was 12. We're interviewing anyone and everyone who just would like to have their voice heard. And we're kind of recording history of everybody that's speaking out of the time. So you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Rumble, you can find us on Odyssey, you can find us on Telegram. You can find us on BitChute, the Dollar Vigilante. Jeff Berwick, he's a business guy, created the Dollar Vigilante. We're now on his network, the Dollar Vigilante TV. So he's picked up our show. So I was just looking at and seeing how many people are watching it on his network because someone just shared a link of it. And so we are growing. We're reaching more people. We're obviously shadow banned because of who I am, what I talk about, and the people that we have on that are talking against the agenda, against the New World Order, all that kind of stuff. So, we're against all that. So we're not broadcasted open to as many places as possible. So if you do see any of our shows, just please share them out if you do appreciate with what we are doing, because that's how we get spread out to more and reach more people.
Yeah, so cool. Okay, so aliens, back to aliens. We'll do a 360 here. What's the final summary coming from Jesse Hal?
Well, I've never seen an alien. I've never had an experience. I've slept on my buddy's houseboat out looking at the stars, saw a bunch of shooting stars, saw a bunch of things moving, saw things up there. What they are, I don't know. Never personally had any contact with that myself. I don't know if it's just, put out into the collective as a mental delusion. I don't know if there's really aliens, galactics, if there's ships out there coming here to help us. I don't know. I couldn't, I'm not going to, just because people are having these experiences and sharing their stories doesn't mean that I believe what they're telling us. I believe they believe it. I believe it's real to them. I don't discredit that. I listen to it openly, objectively, allow them to share who they are and what they are. And I ask honest questions of these people, and not to mock them or ridicule them, because I believe they really believe it. Whether it's real or not, I don't know. I can't say, because until I see it, until I experience it, until I know. And I believe that when people believe that the people that are controlling this matrix are reptilians, or they're Dracos, or if they're demons, devils, Satan, I believe that makes people believe that they're powerless to fixing these things. So I think a lot of these things, whether they're psyops, whether they're, creating more division amongst the people, I don't know why it's all going on. But when you think that the people that are doing this to us are supernatural, then you feel powerless more against it, and then you're less likely to do the things, to pull up your big boy pants or your big girl panties and do something about it, right? Like, because it's kind of pointless if it's supernatural. Hey, what can I do? How can I stop it, or whatever? So I really think that may be in play. And then the people that truly believe that it's going on and broadcasting it to everyone makes it more real, and it maybe is going to open the door for them to do a fake alien invasion, because so many people believe that the aliens are here. So I don't know. And then, like I said, they could all be, and they all could be real, and I could just not be aware of what's going on. But I can't tell somebody that I believe it until I've actually experienced it myself.
Okay, good one. All right, Jesse, I know you mentioned it before, but I always ask for a final message to men to wrap up with. So any last words on men who are maybe struggling at the moment, going through, tough times, their own challenges?
I think we're at a pivotal time in history. And I think that the way our lives, the history of this earth is going to depend on, not just men, but especially the men, what we're going to do here in these next coming years. And I think that, the struggles that you're going through has been engineered. The struggles that you're going through with the drugs, the alcohols, the separation from your families and all things, this isn't your fault. You may have made some poor decisions, but it's not, your fault that this has happened. They've been doing this to us. We've been systematically not just poisoned, attacked, divided, separated. So they want to kill us. Like, this is obvious and evident what they've been doing, that their things can potentially get a lot worse, or we could all not be here if it comes to fruition. So now's the time more than ever to, like I said, pull up those, big boy pants, to stand for something, to get out there, to make your voice heard. If things are happening with your governments or things are happening with the pharmaceuticals or doctors, speak out about it. Don't be afraid, because if you live in fear, and more people are afraid than they are finding their true power, then this is going to get a lot worse for everybody. And we can take back our lives, but it's going to take everybody, wanting to live on their feet than die on their knees.
Great words. Thanks so much, Jesse. Well, you've got such a fascinating story. Thanks for sharing it with us. And I'm sure there's lots of bits there that the men watching can identify with. And also, it's always good for us women to hear these men's stories and just know, how hard they've worked to overcome the challenges in their life, to be the men they are today, the heart warriors. So thank you, Jesse.
Well, thank you so much for what you're doing. I think it's really important that, especially coming from, a strong female that has a voice, that has a platform, to be able to help men, because there's always women's groups, there's abuse groups, there's this group, there's all kinds. Women help to tend help women, when men tend to feel a lot more alone. Not a lot of places to reach out to. How do you go to your buddy? Hey, I'm feeling some emotional things. Do you want mind you helping me with that? And what the heck are you talking about? Grab a beer and shut up, is what a man would say to. So it's important that there is platforms like this, that there is, help, that, men can, there is ways that people are listening and helping. So thank you so much for what you're doing. You were an amazing guest on the Missing Link. So really appreciated you coming and sharing yourself, with our audience and with the people that, connect with us. So just, keep doing what you're doing. And I really, really am in alignment. And I think that you're doing a great job. So, even though I haven't seen what you're doing, I just know what you're doing. And, and I really, really thank you for that. And I'm going to actually check out more. I'm so busy, and with the surgery and, things like that, and my rehabilitation, I don't have a lot of extra time, because like we're doing 5 shows a week and bookings and here and there, and, trying to figure it, like I'm really busy with my time. So, but I will now. I think this is great. I didn't know about the questions. I didn't know how we're going to get like deep into me, but I hope that I was able to express myself in a way that is able to help some people, that is able to listen to this.
Most definitely. And another thing that I do to individualize each episode is I always ask the men to choose their own subtitle for the show. So I won't put you on the spot now. We can chat after the show, but just so you know, and anyone watching knows that when you look on YouTube down, because you're number 88, down all the episodes.
No way. It's my favorite number.
And you
So
know
you
what?
just telling me that, it's like the universe is like just sending another beautiful message, and I already got it. We can call it surfing the waves.
Great. Okay. And it's been crazy because I moved 4 weeks ago, and I've had like really spotty internet, and I only just realized that I could so I've actually tried to do, I don't know, 2 or 3 shows and haven't been able to do it, and people rescheduling, and it's just been a bit crazy. So there's been a bit of a lull. And then I just realized that I could hotspot from my phone, and I've got great internet now. So yeah, I tried to give 88 away a few times, but it's all yours.
That is amazing. I love it. That makes me so happy. Like really, like that just, just solidified how perfect this was.
Awesome. All right. Surfing the waves. Got it. Thanks, Jesse. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you. And tune into the missing link. And may, Gemma, may the source be with you, and may the source be with all of you during this pivotal time, these trying times. And we will win this, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing what I was doing if I thought that this was unwinnable.
Yeah, so good. And if you could like, share, subscribe, and I'll be back in a couple of days with another episode of Heart Warriors. Bye. See you, Jesse.